think that short stack play is simple. If you got 10 big blinds or less, just move all in or fold. Well, in real life, it's actually a little bit more complicated than that. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you some advanced concepts of short stack play that you probably weren't already aware of. Here's what we're going to cover in this lesson. First, we're going to define what we mean by a short stack and how that varies based on how many big blinds you have. Second, we're going to talk about short stack play in early position. Third, we're going to talk about how to evaluate the table conditions and adjust to your opponents. And finally, we're going to talk about avoiding some particular trouble spots. So what is a short stack? And most people think that if you have about 10 big blinds or less, you're a short stack and your only move really is to move all in or fold pre-flop. It gets a little bit more complicated than that. So when you have 10 big blinds, it's probably right to open for an all-in. Because if you only raise to 2 or 3 times the big blind, you're pretty much going to have to call anyway, and you take away the option of your opponent to re-raise and try to get you off the hand. Now, when you have 10 big blinds, you're going to be pushing all in, but at some point, you're going to have too many big blinds. Your stack is going to be too big to make it an all-in or fold decision. When I have 13 big blinds, I'm almost definitely going to make a small raise rather than pushing all in if I'm the first one in the pot. And the reason is that gives me the opportunity to get away from my hand depending on the action that I see after me. If I see a raise and a re-raise and an all-in, then I can easily get away from a lot of my marginal hands. Here's an example where a lot of people are going to open push for about 14 big blinds, but I'd rather make a small opening raise. It gives me a chance to get away from the hand if there's significant action after me. I've got ace-jack suited and it's folded around to me, so I make a standard 2.5, 3 times the big blind raise. The next player folds, a big stack with about 40K re-raises me. He had a bigger stack to his left, so he's got to have a good hand. The big blind goes all in for over 24 big blinds. So now I have a decision to make. And I have the option to make this decision, whereas if I had just open pushed, I wouldn't have had that option. And I'd be stuck here in probably what's a really bad situation with a hand that could be dominated in 2 spots. So I fold, and I was right. One player had ace-king, and the other player had pocket-queens, putting me in a really bad situation. So we just covered about 10 to 15 big blinds. What happens when your stack gets a little bit bigger than that, when you're about, say, 20 big blinds? In that situation, you're looking for opportunities to re-steal, to re-raise an opponent that's opening up a lot of hands, but they have enough sense to lay down a hand to a decent-sized re-raise all in. One big advantage of the re-steal as opposed to a regular steal, you're going to win double or more of what you win when you just do a regular steal. So when you have 20 big blinds, you can pick up 5, maybe 6 big blinds worth of chips by a re-steal. And you don't have to do that very often. You do that a few times in a round, and you may double your stack without ever getting to a showdown. So don't go completely crazy, but look for the right opportunity. When you're fairly short in early position, about 5 to 10 big blinds, or even less, a lot of players will loosen up way too much. Now, sometimes I see people take this to an extreme and just go all in blind under the gun. Sometimes even extremely tight conservative players, they just think, well, the big blind's the next hand, I'm just got to play this hand almost no matter what. Some people won't go that far and will just play half their hands. But I'm going to play the normal hands that I'm going to play under the gun. Only, maybe 10-15% of my hands. What I do when I'm deciding how to play an early position with a short stack, I pretend it's not a tournament, that it's a cash game. And you wouldn't push all in under the gun blind in a cash game, would you? No. So you shouldn't be doing it in a tournament either. If the hand doesn't have positive equity to play it in a cash game, then it doesn't have positive equity to move all in